Well, folks, most of us have an emergency fund. Maybe it's 50 grand, maybe it's 100 grand, maybe it's 25 grand, doesn't matter. But most of us do have an emergency fund. So let me play out this scenario for you, then I'll introduce you to my guest. So you have 100,000 bucks. It's in a bank account, earning 0.001. It's in your left pocket. You move that $100,000 from your left pocket into another bank account, your right pocket. And it's going to earn you an interest rate that's 3% or 4%. Now, you don't get to keep all of that 3 or 4%. You maybe can keep 0.5% or 1% of it, but the other 2 or 3% goes to provide for your family a death benefit of $200,000 and a long-term care benefit of $500,000. Again, I'm making up all of these numbers to illustrate a point, but it's the way this particular emergency fund account works, and you have complete or near complete liquidity, meaning you can tap back into that 100 grand just like any other emergency fund anytime that you want. The person that invented that product, one of the fastest selling products in banks and savings and loans and with brokers all around the country, the linked benefit life insurance policy is here. And he's with me, and he's my good friend, Gene Pastula. Gene, thanks for joining us again on the program.
Enjoy it every time.
How'd I do?
You did great. In fact, I can just about go home now.
I think you should. No, just kidding. Listen, again, we don't need to get into the weeds on this, and that's why I wanted it in an oversimplified version. But the first thing that people say when they hear this is, sounds way too good to be true.
Yeah, well, the thing is that insurance companies are in the business. You mentioned where you're talking about leveraging last session. And essentially, that's what insurance companies do for a living. They leverage money over the long haul, 10, 20, 30, 40 years, and they use actuarial science to basically come up with benefits for the people who use those contracts. And when you put them in the context of financial planning, it's amazing what you can do with it. And so we took a number of years ago a look at what was one of the most critical financial issues that faced seniors and retirees. And of course, the big one is long-term care.
Yeah, you were way ahead of the curve on that. You know, we hear a lot about long-term care today because it's become such a financial planning issue. But 25 years ago, I wasn't thinking about it, and I was a CFP doing the same thing you were doing.
Yeah, what we were seeing was a trend that was really growing fast, and a marketplace where the only options, they called it nursing home insurance at the time, and it just really wasn't satisfying for people who had a bit of wealth and could look at it and say, you know, I'm not buying that, I want to self-fund. And essentially that's what we're doing here. We have insurance contracts that will take large amounts of cash, either in lump sum, or you can stage it in over a period of 5 or 10 years, or sometimes, in some cases, over the rest of your life. We have a lot of individuals, for example, who take the required minimum distributions, thank you, from their qualified plan that they don't really need, and they can put it into one of these insurance contracts and create, you know, take $10,000 or $15,000 a year and create a $250,000 fund that'll go tax-free to their heirs, or they can use tax-free to help pay for convalescent care if they, when and if they need it. So lump sum, staged in, either way, we create this leveraged benefit by storing that money. And you alluded to the bank account example. That's a perfect example, because once it's all in there, you know, what difference does it make to you whether the money is sitting in a bank and you can get it out of there, or the money is sitting in an insurance company and you can get it out of there?
Yeah, I think this is really important, because what most people don't get is, because usually they hear about big, huge loads and the insurance company is screwing you over and you can't get your money out for 20 years and all that stuff. That's not the case here. If I take $100,000 out of my left pocket, or 50, whatever the number is, take it out of my left pocket and I put it in my right pocket, I can dip my right hand into my right pocket, take that money out the next day if I wanted to. But here's what's amazing, and you call this a legacy asset. Gene helped me write a chapter in my very first book on this very subject, and that dates back at least 15 years now. but it's a legacy asset. Money, I've had money in an emergency fund for, I don't know, 15, 20 years that I've never touched.
Yeah, and I'm the same way, and I see that over and over and over. And of course, being on your show the last few months and getting the calls that I get, it's really interesting. I mean, literally, people, that's what they have. They never think of it in terms of, you know, can I do something else with it besides just be in the bank and still have it safe and liquid? And of course, when you put the money into an insurance contract in this fashion, that's exactly what it is. Not FDIC insured, it's insured by the insurance company, which is all the ones we use are huge, and you know, we satisfy ourselves that it's going to do what we want it to do. But the bottom line is that we've structured these things so that the $100,000 example that you used could literally turn into almost $500,000 on average, depending on the client and the age and what have you when we set it up, that could be used for long-term care. And if not, it sits there knowing that you can get to it for whatever other reason, and if the best thing happens and you pass away someday without any real bad financial thing happening, then a couple $100,000 in that case will go to your heirs. That tax-free, outside of probate. I mean, it's a clean financial strategy that just makes all the sense in the world, and that's what is getting people, as they know and learn about it and compare it with what is available now in their financial plan. It just makes a lot of sense.
I compare it to, say, a tax-free municipal bond. All right, so here you are. You're going out. You put $100,000 into muni bonds. You don't really need the income. So you're reinvesting the dividends. It's a muni bond fund. And what are you getting? You're getting $100,000 plus today maybe 2 or 3% on your return. So in this kind of muni bond, you still have the $100,000. Now, if interest rates go up, it helps this muni bond fund. It hurts the other one. But you still might make 1 or 2% in your pocket. But because the insurance company invests long term, they can take 3 or 4 or 5%, whatever they make, and the difference between what they pay you, maybe 1 or 2%, and 3 or 4 or 5%, can actually go to cover the cost. So this is not a freebie. It's just the insurance company's ability to invest long when most everybody else invests short. They take the interest rate risk.
Yes, and it's institutionalizing a part of your portfolio that allows you to get guaranteed benefits. And we talk about this, and we talk about annuities on your show from time to time, and those are the kind of things that the insurance industry can do if you know how to apply it appropriately to each aspect of your financial plan, and that's kind of the key. You started out by saying that, you know, nobody likes insurance and all the rest. It's because they don't really understand it or put it in the right context.
Folks, you need to do this. Call this number, 800-238-8144. That's 800-238-8144. Ask for Gene Pastula. He is the owner, the inventor